Okay.
All right, I think we're good. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first TWed of the spring 2019 season. Today, our focus is going to be on kind of an introduction to the Tetherless World Portal. What I'm planning to do is just give a kind of an overview of what it is and how it's structured, kind of its just generally its architecture, talk a little bit about how it does, what it does, and then do a dive into creating a complicated instance, which is how we publish metadata about our publications. It's called creating a document instance. And those of you who are in Deb's research group meetings will remember that I did a couple talks last fall when we were going through the phase when creating document instance wasn't quite working. This is sort of a review of that, but more from a context of it actually working. And so it's, and then what I hope to do is leave enough time to discuss more openly why it is that it is the way it is, and looking in the future, are there ways that we could potentially improve it? Mostly in a direction to making it look more friendly on mobile browsers, that sort of thing, more in tune with the way we do things, but preserving this powerful knowledge graph that we have that's the basis of it. So what I'm going to do is, and the usual TWed reminders, we are streaming live. Hello out there if you're watching us live, members of the Tetherless community. We've got a couple people who are in the Hangout and may ask questions remotely. And we're going to save this so hopefully it's useful to people. So let me just switch my mode here so I'm sharing my browser screen. Okay. And I should say, while we're doing this, we've got a little experiment going on that Jim McCusker is live coding, sucking in the knowledge graph. He's already sucked in the knowledge graph from that's behind the Tetherless portal into YIS, instance of YIS, and he's creating instances and views and stuff like that. So he's trying to create a new version of the Tetherless portal in the hour that we have. So we're already 6 minutes into it. Let's see. All right. So done yet? Do I have to keep going, Jim? So just a quick. So how many people have been at least here? Okay, I don't see. I see everybody's hands. I see everybody's hands. How many people have actually created an account? Do I see everybody's hands? Yes, you think so? Yeah. Okay. Well, this is the Tetherless portal. This is okay. What's that?
I didn't create the account.
Or have accounts created for you. But okay. So another question is, how many of you have actually used your account? Okay. Or doing something other than Professor McGinnis's class? How many of you have actually for something other than ontology engineering? Okay. Doing something other than okay. Well, let's wait. We can address that. How many of you have had issues? And what are those? What's an example of the issues?
Pages get created and we can never find them again.
Sidebars sometimes disappear.
Yeah.
Don't look at instances.
All right. What else do we got?
High stakes entity creation.
So how many of you created publications in the portal? Added publications. And for how many of you did that actually work?
First time?
Well,
Or the fifth time?
No.
Or sixth time?
Second time?
Yeah.
how many of you have had to have Patrick West or John Erickson or Evan Patton or pretty much it.
I'm raising my hand on behalf of everyone in the group.
Yeah, intervene in some way. Okay. What we'll try to do tonight is kind of talk through, and hopefully by understanding how it's built, you understand a little bit more about why those problems arose and how to avoid them. and how to reliably maybe enter stuff and have it work the first time. Okay, so well, one of the big things so the portal is based on a back version of Drupal. Okay, some of the parts of the portal are very much Drupal, almost 100% Drupal. Okay, but in Drupal is a PHP-based application, so Drupal has extensions that are done in PHP code, and some of the customizations that we've done to the portal to make it a semantically driven portal are done with PHP code modules, Drupal modules that have been added in. And so you'll hear me mention a lot a module that's called TWU Sparkle. TWU Sparkle is the backbone of the portal. What it's doing is it's a very powerful module, so it's parameterized in different ways for different things that you're doing. But fundamentally, given some instance information, it's using a stored query, and there's hundreds of various different stored queries on the server to pull up different types of information. Okay, here we've got our famous publications list. This is the wide open, show me everything. And just to give you, there's some badness going on there. That's kind of curious. But if we, so I'm logged in as an editor. I'm going to look at what creates that page. And we look here. This page is created very simply with the Sparkle tag calls or invokes our TWU Sparkle module, and many pages on the portal are constructed by some query being listed, some XSLT transform that styles and organizes the information that's coming back from the Sparkle endpoint, and other information that may or may. This is about, I think, one of the few pages that actually has this expiration date.
Why do we have an expiration?
Sorry?
Why do we have an expiration date?
I don't know if it actually behaves, but anyways, it's possible. So this is one form of how we do things. This is kind of a wide open. So we're not giving it any instant. We're not doing a query that's, say, based on a particular context, like the person that this page is about, or the course or the project or whatever. This is a wide open query that's probably give me all of the publication. So you could, if you went on the server to a particular, these are publicly available. You went on the server to a particular location, you'll see a long list of these .rqs. You open them up, and this query you could literally just take from your take from what you see in the browser, put it into the Sparkle endpoint and get this list of replicate this list of publications. And then the transform, the XSL file, it takes what TWU Sparkle returns and it formats it in some way, and that depends upon the query that you're doing, and it varies. Okay, so touch my toe into that. That's it. So look at some of these other depends upon the query that you're doing. We see
John,
that different pages are doing different things. So
John,
this is project list that you're doing. We see
John.
a little bit different. We've got a couple different kinds of queries. We actually this actually is just a link to another page, which is past projects. And here we have the project list, a Sparkle query called a project list. So it's very in that case, it's very similar to what you would have. Okay, and we'll get to these other things in a second, but I want to do one more example because it's kind of interesting. Most or all of you should have you have metadata about yourself in the graph, and that information is used all over the place. It's used everywhere from your own personal page to this listing of people, Tetherless World people, to the way you get represented in a publication listing, the metadata for a publication. So if we look, so first let's look at this example. And I'm doing this intentionally. I'm not randomly going around. I want to show you how the metadata that you enter when you build a person's instance is used in different ways. Here, so the HTML tags are doing the usual thing. There's different sections of the different types of people, and it's non-functional, so I'm not doing anything. But then look at, we use the same query for, we specify the same stored query for each of those listings, for each of the roles. It's the same query. Well, how do we differentiate? Well, we're passing in this parameter, which is this role. Okay, so we're executing that query, but in different ways. We're executing this people by role, but passing in faculty. And then you could go find that query, that stored query, and you can paste it into the user interface for the SPARQL endpoint for the Tetherless portal, and look where that parameter gets slurped in, and replicate this query and see it. And then there's a special XSLT, which is going to take the information. Yeah.
Where is this SPARQL endpoint and like this?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay. It's under one of those tabs. It's actually,
John?
it's right, yeah. So, okay.
John, can you hear me?
Okay, so let's go back to,
Quick question.
sure. Did you want?
Yeah, so back to where you were, the
Okay.
source code.
Well, I could do that anyway. Okay.
Right, so that person list XSL.
Yeah.
How does that get populated? Because like I feel like my user was added differently than traditionally, and I'm not part of that list.
I'm not sure what. Well, if you're not part of this list, so this is a transform. This is formatting the information that's coming back from the SPARQL endpoint
John?
for this particular query. Okay, so if
John?
you're not showing up, then
John?
it's probably something in the metadata. It doesn't have to do with the transform. The transform is just formatting
John?
of all the data that's being returned
Is
by
anybody there?
that .rq. It's formatting.
This is
it.
bullshit.
Okay. I don't want to get too far afield here. I want to
You haven't even started a field.
and I want to actually
John?
Johnny sent me a message saying Peter wants to talk to her.
oh, Jesus.
Hello?
Okay. I don't know which one is Peter.
Can anybody hear me? Am I just speaking into the ether?
I'm not sure speaking, but I hear you.
Yeah.
Could someone figure out how he wants to talk to me?
So does anybody find this remotely useful, or is this just chaotic bullshit?
Is that you, Mark?
The expiration
Yeah.
is to March. He was talking about the 30-day. This is
Oh,
it's on the YouTube.
okay. That's
Okay, and he was explaining that the expiration is to mark year boundaries more generally to marks from people who've already cut this world.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
So for when you grab
This is complete
we don't want
chaos.
Yeah.
But that's
It's
a-
less than useless.
So Peter is raising a deeper point.
Yeah.
Peter, Jim, Deborah, if you hear this, this is absolute crap.
The full
You're not helping us manage our life. You're making it worse.
in the RDF. Not all of the
Sorry, John. Bye.
They're
Mark.
it's specified because it's possible to create sort of an abbreviated abbreviated time span or not at all. And for the queries to really work their magic, and for example, to have you dropped from this list, if you're no longer a member of Tetherless World, it should you've got to have all the metadata there. So we've got some people on here that are here that shouldn't necessarily be shown, and that's likely because the dates aren't correct. Okay.
So Mark Parsons has a question.
Okay.
Hold on.
Dates aren't correct. Okay. So Mark Parsons has a question.
Mark, I've got the sound on, Mark, if you want to ask your question. Mark left.
Well, they're going to be, so if people could text, that would be the best thing, if it's possible to text.
I've
So-
asked them to type questions.
Okay, good. So what I wanted to do was kind of show, so this is an example, and I'm not choosing this for any particular reason, other than it's, the way this is done is fairly generic. There's different individuals, depending upon when they took an initiative, including like 10 years ago, have slightly different ways that they're representing their personal information, but generally the information that I'm presenting on this person page can be entered when you enter your, when you create a person instance, but we change our, we change our bios, right? Some of the things we do, some of the ways we change is we add publications, we add presentations, we add different projects that we're working on. Those sorts of changes, the portal, you would do them through the portal. You create instances of new publications, and they will automatically be updated to your to the information that's available, which is the real power and strength of the Tetherless portal. You're augmenting the knowledge graph using this process. Other of this information is more difficult to augment, such as this this biographical information, this little this short little mini bio that I've got here, and we've got instructions on the portal, which I'll point to, of the process by which you edit that. And anybody that understands RDF, anybody that understands Turtle, and anybody that knows how to use subversion can update their information pretty readily. And I'll point to where that is on here. But what I wanted to do was show how this was constructed. And most of the people on the portal have pages that are constructed pretty much in this way. There's probably a little bit of there's a little bit of hacking here. Let's see what's of interest. Actually, you know what we want to do? We don't want to look at mine. We want to look at someone like actually, if we go ahead and look at, I think yours is yours. Yeah, but yours might, if it's
Mine's exactly why. Mine's what,
well, no, I don't want to.
it's
So
like-
what I want to look at is actually, I want to look at one that's mostly. I want to look at one of the students. Let's go to. Truthy, do you actually appear in here? Enrique's, I think Enrique's got a good one. See, okay, so this would be a good example. Okay, this is what I wanted to show. Okay, so if we go back and look at how comprehensive the information here on Enrique's page is. Okay, if we've got we have his bio information, we have his publications list, and there's probably other information that's we've got his projects listed. Okay, and so there's a lot of people pages that have the same structure. So what you're seeing here is you've got a SPARQL query, which is bringing back, it's a stored query, which is bringing, basically it's like I think it's a describe query that's pulling back Enrique's full graph, okay, all the information about Enrique, and then and it's structuring that in a particular way. But then each of these SPARQL calls, they're using the data that came back from that query, and they're translating it in different ways. So we're not regurgitating that query. We brought back a graph for that page, that person's graph, and then we are using specific section XSLTs for the different pieces that we want.
How does it know to use the results from person.rq and those other elements?
That's the magic of TWU Sparkle. TWU Sparkle is a pretty funky module.
Does it say magic?
Well, it's not. So it's not magic. It's PHP.
Yeah.
But what's it? Yeah.
Go ahead and finish that. I have a question.
Okay. So but the point is, what I'm trying to show here, I'm trying to highlight some of the query-driven pages on the TW portal are simple queries that are where everything is required for a query specified in the stored query. It just pulls back information. Publications is an example of that. Other usages of TW Sparkle are more subtle. You may be pulling back a graph, and then your XSLT will be slicing and dicing that in some way. And actually, it's a pretty cool aspect. So conceptually, behind a page is my graph, and then I'm just, for subsections of that page, I'm just picking off these different pieces. And TW Sparkle, the module is enough of a Swiss Army knife that you can do that in different ways. Some of the prototyping that it did for DCO, the original DCO portal, I was doing very onesie-twosie kinds of queries with TW Sparkle. I was informed that this is actually a preferred way to go. Yeah.
So we have at least one person on the group who has a page, but it does not appear in people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them.
And the reason?
Well, the reason is so the way I would answer that question, if we've got enough time, we could actually pursue that, is we'd have to look at that
Person's page.
we'd probably have to look at use our SPARQL endpoint and actually interrogate, pull up that person's URI and actually look at the metadata and see what the deal is. And we can do that. Who is it? Is it Brenda? I thought Brenda's stuff looked okay. Oh, she's away. If she's not in the list.
She's not. When you go to people, you won't find her.
And you won't find myself or Shruti, but if you go to our specific pages.
So you guys are semantic gods. So what you can do is there's two things you can do. One is you can pull up your graphs. So you go to your individual pages and you can see what your URIs are, and then do queries into the SPARQL endpoint, and you can look at your graphs. But then you can also look at the people.rq and see what it's actually looking for. It could be that there's a mismatch there. It could be that there's probably some attribute that is missing. I think that's generally an explanation. Explanation is there's probably something that's missing, that's not matching in that the people.rq.
Okay.
So and I wouldn't doubt that there's a lot of folks on here, but
There are also people who are no longer here. I mean, part of that is maintenance, but
Oh,
the rest of it is a uniform way
so,
to add people so that every time they're added, they show up on this list.
so, okay,
The idea-
so what we need to look at, so this brings us to adding instances, okay? So let's actually look at that. So creating a person, okay? And so there's a lot of questions. For example, you know, I would think that the first thing you'd look at is, do they have one of the roles that is listed in the, if you remember when we went to that people page, there was individual roles that were specified for each of those subsections, and making sure that that there is a role specified and that role is one of those roles there. That would be the first thing I would check, because if you've got a none role, or if you've got a role that's not going to be listed, you're not going to show up, because only those queries are only going to trigger on those roles. Now those might be hierarchical. I don't think they are, but they.
Do we have time to go through somebody's?
We could try to do that. I do. Let's loop back, because this is a specific problem. But I want to touch on. I think we're safe. That I think most people at least tried to do a document instance. Okay, so I just want to bounce off of that. Look at that, and then we could come back to the role thing. Okay. Okay. So, but this is how you create the. Create a person. And I would say, you know, as I look through this, I think if there's a problem, it's probably here. Because that's the only thing I can think of that would be like an exclusion.
Is that a drop-down list?
Yeah, that's a drop-down list. These are all the valid roles.
So you click it there. Okay.
Okay. And we would have to make sure that
Supposing we already have a person instance, how do we edit it?
You would go into
right.
find your page, view the source, or edit.
It has.
No, it's so let's actually go to that. Okay, so I've talked about this, but that is probably how many people have actually edited their RDF? Okay, and how did you do it? Robin, how did you do it?
Click on the raw and
No, you didn't. You didn't actually regularly. Another. So who can tell me how you actually edited?
SSH to the server and do it.
What's that?
SSH to the server and do it there.
No.
No.
That's not right. You would have, well, it might work if you went to exactly the right place, but it's not safe. Okay.
So you do.
Andrew, did you have you done? No.
not edited the server.
Okay.
Is it down to me?
I have an answer, but I haven't done
Peter
it.
said he
Well,
had.
no, somebody has actually done it.
Peter's hand,
file to you?
Peter's hand is up.
Yeah, I know. Peter doesn't count. I know Peter has. He's probably the only one, and McCusker is probably the only other one that's on that can honestly answer that question. Okay, so you want to tell us how you do it?
Okay, so the first thing.
Have you done it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing you have to do is you have to discover the ultra secret magic subversion repository.
No, no,
You have to.
no.
No.
Let me show you this. What you do
No.
is this. You go to help.
Okay,
you say-
fine. That did not exist when I did it.
Okay.
It's okay to not.
Yes. On a. So
Okay.
back in the day.
How do I change instance data created
Right.
in RDF?
So back in the day, updated fall 2018. This was back in the day before fall 2018, aka a year ago.
Updated, not created. Go ahead.
It's telling you to go to
You
the
go
data
to
from
you
subversion.
check out the subversion repository that you somehow learn about through a web page that is now available, and you basically grep for your instance URI through the data. And you hope you have a good instance URI that you can figure out. it is more or less based on your the /web/ whatever. It's actually like /web/ person/ your name or some variation of your name. It is not necessarily your username.
Let's see if I actually have.
Yeah, and so that last bit that you get on there is probably what you want to grep for, because you're not going to get your full URI from /web/ whatever. So don't count on this being linked data. It's actually /instances.
Yeah. So I want to actually.
But anyway, you look for once you figure out your URI, you look for it. You open that file. You edit it. It's not Turtle. It's RDF XML. It's really awful and pain in the butt. You edit the RDF XML. You save it. You check it in. You ask John very kindly to refresh the SPARQL server.
Can everybody? So you can't see that. Let me. Can you guys so can you read this in the back? Okay. So this is what Jim was saying. This is this is the checked out subversion repository. Okay. This I put it on my desktop. This is I'm inside instances. Okay, which is the target that I gave you on that help page was to check out at the instances level. And you see these different subdirectories. Many of these are legacies based on how kind of a previous kind of pre-automated or like a different version of how the Tetherless portal created instances. But the important one that Jim is talking about today, if you go in and create a new instance of anything, a new document, a new person, whatever, a new event, for example, a new announcement, it's going to go into the subdirectory called generated. And when we click into generated, what do we see? Okay, we click into generated, and we see a lot of these individual RDF files. Each one of these files is the RDF for what you just created. Okay, so if we if we just arbitrarily pick one. Okay, sorry. Let me.
So yeah, and then the stuff under people, you might think you're there. You're probably not there.
Well, yeah, well, that's the side point I was going to say. But so this is just this is a simple example. This is a Tim Lebo 2010 Lebo RDF Lebo RDF paper. Or actually, what is it? It's a miscellaneous publication. Is actually what it is. But this gives you some insight in what's in these. But Jim's point is very well taken. If I'm in this, if I need to find something, how do I find it? It's not very obvious in the way this is done. But if I'm in the shell and I grep on something that I know I'm going to find. Okay. So what I often do is, if it's a paper that I need to update the abstract for, example, even though the file name for that RDF it's a UUID, I'm not going to be able to find it. I can find bits and pieces of the paper's title, or I can find or other pieces of that of the metadata for that paper. So that'll give me this. Okay, and then what I would want to do, and this is Shruthi's question. You find that file, you find the person. So let's use that as an example. So there's a couple different places where people happen to be. Usually they're going to be in generated. Shruthi's probably in generated.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
You go back and start this from the beginning.
There's some
This process from the beginning, because
sure.
they wanted to know one more time how to get to that page.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let me share a different. I gotta go back and share a different screen. Okay. Let me go back. Who's asking?
Brenda.
Oh, okay. She's been through this. Okay. Let's go to.
She's also been through a lot of deadlines this past year. So.
No, that's okay.
She's been through.
So let's make sure. Okay. Somebody keep me honest. I'm actually sharing, but I think I'm sharing. I think I am. Okay. So this is a help page that's on the portal. Okay. And you can get to. There's a couple ways you can get to it, but how do I change instance data created in RDF? This is the simplest form. This information is actually in identical form on a couple different pages. It's a subsection on one or two other pages, but this one it's in the most concise form that you're going to see. You're going to check it out using subversion, okay? And that's going to create on your computer. That's what I was just showing on my computer. I was showing you the repository. So I had the entire knowledge graph.
People who don't program regularly, you're asking them to open shell and do that?
Yeah.
Or text editor. Yes.
Or text editor?
No.
Wait.
No. I'm asking to in the shell,
Yeah.
In the
okay,
shell.
which is trivial easy on a Mac. You're already there in Linux, and I don't know what the hell you're going to do if you're on Windows.
Go find someone with Mac.
I will personally install Linux Mint on your machine if you wish. Okay. Then this is the step 2 is the step that could be expanded so I check out the repository, which means I'm checking out this directory tree.
And what is the output that you expect to see when you run that?
You will see that directory tree that I just showed you. When you run, actually, I will answer Kathy's question. If you run that command, okay, you will see this appear somewhere, wherever you've run that command. You will see a folder appear that says instances, okay? And it's identical to what we have in the repository, okay? And then
you're not showing them.
Oh, okay. So I got to switch modes. So thank you for your patience, remote people. All right. So you will see instances, and then you can you will see if you click into it, you will see a number of subdirectories. All of these subdirectories contain .rdf files with graphs of the instances. But as I said, some of these are older than others. Okay, the standard right now is that when you create a new instance on the portal, it's going into this generated folder. Okay, and that's a little confusing because you think if I'm generating people, it should be in people. And that's not what's going to happen now. Okay, there are a lot of people, legacy people, who are under people, but the automatic thing that happens now is that you create a person, you create a document, you create whatever. It's going into generated. Okay.
You can think of them as very, very small, almost atomically sized publications.
Almost like nano publications. Okay. So are we back with me? So here's a question. How can we find truthies?
We need to find the URL.
That's a good use case.
And
So here I am. So I'm showing you a way to find this, okay? So what I just did is I opened up my terminal. Oh, geez, crow. Why don't I just share my screen? Maybe that would be easier. Somebody teach this old guy how to use his oh, you know what? That's going to be a problem though, because I've got two things. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not smart enough to do that. I'll just do this way. All right. All right. So what I've done is I've opened up my terminal in the generated subdirectory. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is what Jim said. Sorry. find it. I want to grep. I want to find truthy. And I'm going to look over everything. Okay. So I'm sorry it's hard to see, but so this is kind of interesting. What I'm seeing is the only in this subdirectory, the only files that are referring to Shruti are the only RDF are the breast cancer paper and the cohort ontology. Well, let's find that. Okay. So obviously your person data isn't generated. So maybe it was manually created. Maybe John created it. Okay. So let's back out. Okay. So the first place you want to check for anything is in generated. Okay. And then let's see if it's in. Okay. And now let's go back. Oh, let's look at this. There is a shruti-chari.rdf. That's Shruti's. I'm sorry, it's the purple is hard to read against the black. But so Shruti's RDF is actually under the people directory. And why is it like that? Because I created it that way. Because I got asked to create people, and that's the way I created the persons.
Okay, so once you found yourself.
Once you find yourself,
how do you change something like
all right,
that?
so let's look at that. Let's do, I'm going to do, and I'm going to do, and you probably can't see that on the share. So let's try to follow along because I'm not going to answer questions about stuff I'm not showing. All right, so this is Shruti's RDF. Okay, this is what it knows about Shruti. And so the question is, so we've got
as a PhD student, but
but does it have it correct? So
Yes.
it's
looking for
Just above you
graduate
is
students
casserole
in
was
the other
blank.
page. This is
Four
the
more lines up.
problem.
what's that?
I'm not sure there was a query for PhD students.
Well, so what this is doing is
Blank node.
what's that?
It's a blank node.
Right, it's doing a B node, and but the B node is coming down here, so it's saying she has a role, gets PhD student role, but what does it actually want to have?
Graduate student, maybe.
Well,
We need to
look
know
at the query. You
exactly.
need to look at the query again.
Yeah.
What was the parameter on that?
Yes, exactly. So maybe somebody who's logged in, could look at that. Well, there's another way we could do it is, who was a student that actually showed up?
That's what we're looking at. Yeah, Shweta shows up, Katie shows up.
Katie shows up?
And Shweta's is auto-generated, so I can't find that.
So we'll keep that open here.
So yeah, graduate student.
It is graduate, right? Not
So-
PhD student.
So is a graduate student?
Yeah.
PhD student should be subclass of graduate.
Well,
That's
that's,
only.
So then you can have master's student as well. And then we just check anything that's a subclass of graduate.
Yeah, I don't think the queries can be that sophisticated.
Yeah.
Actually,
I forgot about it. I was like, gosh,
I think
no, I'm not 100% convinced.
Why?
well,
Because-
what's going on in this query then? People by role, the parameter is graduate student
Okay.
in the.
Oh, you know what it might be is, maybe if I go to the other directory.
You can actually see the queries.
Yeah, so let's go.
Yes, those queries.
No, I want to go into CD generated.
and it says email
Now, if-
master student.
If your theory is correct, I should see,
Yep.
I should do graduate student, actually. What is it? Full graduate student?
Yes.
But then Shweta doesn't have graduate student in her RDF and she shows up.
Yeah, Shweta has master's student and it works for her.
Well, so, right, so this person only is graduate students, so.
And it works for that person?
So-
Okay, so clearly there's
So,
something
Fine,
going
so
on.
tell me a student who,
And the screen is blank is for the viewers at home.
okay, well, I'm,
The student who it doesn't work for, and what they have in their role.
so let's share this exploration. So this is a good exercise. So somebody tell me a student who that actually works. How do you spell her name?
SHWETA.
Okay. So let's see if she, let's, so SHWETA. Okay. Can we have a, so she's up, but you said she's a master's.
Yeah, so do a grep for masters.
It's just masters.
She's now a PhD student.
I know, we're updated.
So-
Do grep masters.
So we're kind of going in,
Okay, so Patrick created Shweta when she was an RA. And this is one of the issues is that sometimes Patrick created people and things went a little weird.
well,
Trying to do a grep.
what I want to do is, so I want to find the thing that's going to pull up a ton of these students. Okay, so okay, so we see PhD students, but we don't know if that works. We see master students, we see graduate students, we see undergraduate student. Okay.
Oh, so there's all.
So it should work, so something else is wrong.
So it could be the syntax that we're using for that other thing. Anyways,
Okay.
but it's a useful exercise. And so what would be the next steps after I haven't edited anything yet.
Edit something first.
So yeah, so what we would do
So
is,
assuming you found it in the first place.
yeah, let's go back to our, where's my, I had an editing window open. Let's find, did I have an edit? I think I had one open. We'll just use one as an example. Okay, so let me share this. Okay, so the prescribed steps are, you know, I figure out what my edit should be. I edit it, save it, obviously. And then what do I do? It's obviously a trick question. Well, you can't talk to John yet. What did you say before? Wrong. You don't commit yet. What do you have to do first?
We have to validate the RDF.
You have to validate the RDF. Thank you, Patrick. Please, please, please. And it's very simple to do. There's RDF validator and a number of other really easy to use RDF validators, converters. Just take it, paste it in, sanity check your RDF, make sure it's right.
7 simple steps.
What's that?
7 simple steps.
That's right. 7 steps.
So what?
Okay, so you validate that RDF, then you can go ahead and commit it.
So for the sake of
And it's subversion, so it's a single pump and a commit.
So what would happen if someone did commit invalid RDF? Have you tried? You haven't tried.
You want to finish your graduate degree, right?
Do we have permissions to commit?
What's that? No, you actually, so you have permissions.
Sure.
I think you have permissions to commit.
This is
Yeah,
where
but I think that's all.
I don't think we do. I think I tried this before. And you're like, no, you have to copy.
You can commit anything.
I mean, so it's a good question. You
Well-
can't, but so the fallacy in this,
Yeah, no, it does.
yeah, the fallacy in this logic is that would mean I would have to edit everything,
Yeah.
or Jim, or Peter.
How do we get accounts on SVN whenever we use?
No, you don't need them.
No, it's you.
You have an account, it's just whether or not there's permissions for it.
Actually, I think David Blevins probably can too. So it's a good. Are you sure that you can't come in?
I did this process not too long ago, and I got up to this point, and I
And then-
couldn't commit, and I had something to tell you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have this discussion.
Okay.
So I did all those steps up to the commit,
Okay.
but
Good. Thank you for testing him. Okay. So you after you validated the RDF, then you contact me, and then what I would then do is let's go back to our guide.
we should have like a webinar.
Don't even go there.
Let's
Don't even go there.
let's focus on reality for a moment. Okay. Where's my apologies while I find our get it? Good. Am I not sharing the right thing? Oh, right there, sorry. Okay. So let me continue. The process that would then happen, okay, is you've validated your RDF. I guess I would have to edit it, I guess. Something just doesn't seem right. But anyways, I believe you. I would have to have your updated RDF, and I would then commit it, making some note. Then what we have to do is we have to actually we have to pull it, and this is kind of a bad example. This is assuming it's generated, but we have to do an update from the repo into this particular area on the portal. Okay, so remember we're doing this all off of this repository. This is not the repository, but this is what's live. Okay, and whoever said that they edited live may have edited this, but on the server. But you do the update there, so you're pulling in the revised version, and then you're running this magic incantation, which actually it does a brownout of the portal for a few minutes, because it doesn't take a huge amount of time, maybe 5 minutes to do it, but just don't do it when Peter's in the middle of class or something. It's not a good idea. Not to say that I've ever done that, but
I also don't.
okay. And there's a final point, and this is valid because if you ask me to make the change, I'll make the change to Triple Store, and then you go back to the page and you say, I don't see the update. I don't see the update. The interaction between TWU Sparkle and Drupal is kind of funky. You have to poke its cache, which basically means whatever page, say it's your personal page, and you've artisanally crafted your bio, and you want to see the bio now, and I update the Triple Store, and then you go and look and it's not there. If you go into your page, you just go into edit mode and you save it. That's going to poke the cache, and it's going to refresh TWU Sparkle's data. But that you have to do that, and it's kind of, if you're iterating a lot, it's kind of painful, but you have to do that step. The cache won't let you see immediately the changes that you've made to the Triple Store, even though you see those changes doing the Sparkle query directly. They're there, and if you question, so somebody asks a question, what if it's bad RDF? What if you've done something wrong? You can sanity check your RDF through the Sparkle endpoint. That's the first go-to. And when I'm as I was working on the class stuff last term, I got my Sparkle endpoint open. I've got my my shell into Tetherless Open. I've got my, I'm editing on my machine in my my local copy of my repository. I've got all these things kind of coordinating like that. Okay, so that's that bit. And I wanted to, boy, it's taking full time. So
We have another question here.
what's the question?
Question is the difference between create instance and create content.
Oh, okay, so that's a good question. Thank that person who asked that question.
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay. All right, so let's go back. So creating an instance is creating RDF. Okay, and to review, when you're creating an instance, it's a combination of explicit data that you're entering and linking to instances of other objects. So as I go down here, I've got my first name, my last name. All of those are literal data that I'm putting in. Please, please, please. What it's actually asking for, when it says, when you're entering an abstract, for example, or a description, when it says use XHTML, it actually wants you to just put like a paragraph tag. That's all it wants, is the HTML paragraph tag.
It just needs.
It needs the angle brackets P and close. That's all it wants. That's what it's. And you can experiment with other things, but I wouldn't recommend it too much. But anyways, that's what it's looking for. So you see, it's a combination. When you see something like this, remember, you want to have a role. But what you are doing is, when you're selecting from a drop down like this, what you're actually doing is you're selecting that URI that indicates that role. Okay, so that role has to exist. You're not going to have any problem with that for here. But there's other, and in this you do not specify your affiliation that's done elsewhere. Okay, so the question was content. These are templated, different kinds of templated pages. Okay, so we look at if we look at a person page. Okay, what this is, so a lot of these look this way, but what they're going to do is it's going to ask for this information, and then it's going to, depending upon the type of page you're creating, it's going to fill in it's going to like pre-fill certain SPARQL, TWU Sparkle queries into that. So it's likely going to create like the page I brought up for Enrique, I think it's very kind of a simple list of the SPARQL the SPARQL commands. But if you just create a page, and some of you may have done this, it's just real basic. It's actually not adding any auxiliary information to it. Some of these other ones, if I create, yeah, and so on the surface, these all look like basic Drupal pages, but they're going to associate different kinds of metadata with them.
All right, so one of the things that we had issues with internally is we wanted to have an AGU 2018 event where we could load things in. What is if I'm understanding you right, the first thing you do is create the event.
That's
you
right.
create instance.
Well, an AGU might be funky because...
Let me finish.
Oh, go ahead.
So what I would do is I would go to create instance, I would create event AGU 2018, assuming that that's the right way to do this. And then I would be creating content of an event page.
Yeah.
How would it know where to put it?
So, okay. Okay, so first thing that, on a specific example, you would want to.
Where are you?
So, on an event like AG, right, I'm sorry, I'll tell you. So this is sort of the 0th point, is you're creating an AGU 2018. So the first thing I would say is AGU happens every year. Okay. So sometimes what we have on the portal is for reoccurring events. There's a parent event.
Okay.
So the first thing you'd want to, so you could go ahead and start doing that, but you'd want to look to see if AGU is itself, like if there's a higher level representation of AGU, and it doesn't look like there is. Okay, so what this is listing all the events that it knows about. Okay, I can't explain why some of these are reoccurring. There's probably some slight.
I can,
Oh, yeah?
because we couldn't find them once they were created.
Okay.
So we tried again and again and again, and then finally gave up.
Okay. Well, okay. So no, I mean, that's legitimate because you can create the stuff and not see it instantly, which may have been. Which it depends on what your turnaround.
And then we end up getting 2 and 3 that then we don't know what happened.
Which one was it? Right. And, okay.
So okay, so what
And I'm not.
yeah.
Please, I'm not defending.
No, I know. And so what this points out here is that this is an incredibly difficult system to use and to understand, and it's not logical and it's not intuitive.
Oh, okay.
And that's difficult.
Okay.
It's
So
an
do
issue.
you want to enter the discussion phase? We could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So that ends the entertainment portion of the program. Thank you for those who were joining, and we're going to now have a internal discussion. But thank you, everybody. Clap for John.